An empty mind is not just a quiet place, it is a dangerous neighborhood. When your hands stop working, your mind starts wandering, and where it wanders decides your destiny, my friends. Happiness is not an accident. It is not a gift people hand to you, and it is not something you stumble into on a lucky day. Happiness is a discipline, a choice, a rhythm of life. And one of the greatest secrets I've learned is this: a busy life is a blessed life, not busy with stress, not busy with noise, but busy with purpose, with gratitude, with service, and with growth. So today, let me walk you through 7 life-changing lessons that teach why staying meaningfully busy is the best way to stay deeply happy. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that the greatest battle they will ever fight is not against the world outside, but the world within. When you don't choose your thoughts intentionally, your thoughts begin to choose you, and they don't always choose the best for you. The human mind is a powerful storyteller, and when left unattended, it tends to write stories that are darker than reality, heavier than truth, and scarier than life itself. This is why an idle mind is so dangerous. It doesn't stay still. It starts wandering into corners you never intended to explore. It amplifies worries, magnifies insecurities, and repeats old fears like a broken record. Think of those moments when you had nothing much to do, when your hands were empty and your schedule was loose. Notice how quickly the mind began to pull you toward negative memories, unfulfilled desires, and imaginary problems. Suddenly, you start reliving mistakes you made years ago. You start doubting your worth. You start imagining situations that haven't even happened. And all of this takes place without your permission, simply because you are not directing your mind towards something meaningful. A wandering mind is like an unlocked house. Anything can walk in. Worries walk in, doubts walk in, overthinking walks in. And slowly, without realizing it, your peace walks out. But when you intentionally keep your mind engaged, productively, positively, purposefully, you don't give space for these unwanted guests to enter. When you are working towards something you care about, when your hands are involved in something constructive, your mind stays aligned. There is no excess room for negativity to grow because your energy is being used for growth, not destruction. That is why people who are engaged in meaningful work tend to be mentally healthier. They are too focused on creating to spend time destroying themselves with overthinking. Imagine a garden. If you don't plant flowers, weeds will grow by themselves. You don't have to invite them, they simply appear. Similarly, negative thoughts don't need an invitation. They fill any empty mental space they can find. But when your mind is already planted with purpose, disciplined effort, gratitude, and service, the weeds of negativity have no room to spread. A busy mind is not chaotic, it is cultivated. It is growing something beautiful. Sometimes people say, I just want peace. But peace does not come from doing nothing. Peace comes from doing the right things. When you wake up with a purpose, when you are committed to your goals, when you keep learning, serving, improving, your mind finds peace because it is channelized. Your energy flows in the right direction. You are not pulled down by the gravity of self-doubt because you are lifted by the momentum of meaningful action. Have you noticed how the moment you stop working toward your goals, your mind starts telling you that you're not good enough? But when you're actively pursuing something, that same mind starts encouraging you, guiding you, supporting you. The mind is not your enemy, it simply becomes whatever you train it to become. If you feed it purpose, it becomes your strength. If you starve it of purpose, it becomes your weakness. In many spiritual traditions, it is said that the mind is like a monkey, restless, jumping from branch to branch. But a monkey with a task behaves differently. When it knows where it's going, it moves with intention. Likewise, when your mind knows what your day is about, what your goals are, what your responsibilities are, it stops jumping unnecessarily. It finds direction. This is why staying meaningfully busy is not about filling your schedule. It's about filling your life with intentional action. It's about choosing what you allow your mind to focus on. Because if you don't choose, your mind will choose for you. and it usually chooses the path of least resistance, the path of fear, laziness, comparison, regret, and anxiety. So stay engaged, stay involved, stay committed to something that excites you, challenges you, strengthens you, or helps someone else. Because a directed mind is a peaceful mind, and a peaceful mind becomes a happy life. When you keep your mind occupied with what nourishes your spirit, you naturally eliminate what poisons it. And the more purposefully busy you are, the less space there is for negativity to grow. Happiness begins the moment you decide to guide your thoughts instead of letting them guide you. There is a beautiful shift that happens in a person's life when they discover that busyness alone does not create happiness. It is purpose that gives meaning to the busyness. You can be busy all day and still feel empty, drained, or directionless. And you can also be busy for one meaningful hour and feel fulfilled, energized, and alive. The difference lies not in how much you do, but in why you do it. Purpose is like the oil in a lamp. Without oil, the flame will burn, yes, but only for a short while. It flickers, struggles, and eventually dies out. But when the lamp is filled with oil, the flame shines steady, bright, unwavering. In the same way, the busyness you fill your life with becomes beautiful only when it is fueled by a deeper meaning. When your actions are connected to a purpose that matters to you, your work stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like passion. So many people today wake up tired even after sleeping 8 hours. It's not physical exhaustion. They are drained emotionally and spiritually because they are busy doing things that have no connection to their heart. Imagine waking up every day feeling like you're running on a treadmill. So much effort, so little progress. That's how life feels when your activity isn't rooted in purpose. You go through the motions, but nothing moves you forward. You check tasks off a list, but nothing touches your soul. On the other hand, look at someone who is working toward a mission they believe in. They may work longer hours, face bigger challenges, and deal with more pressure, yet they radiate energy. They wake up with enthusiasm. They push through obstacles with resilience. They endure difficulties with grace. Because when your actions align with your purpose fuels your actions. Purpose does not have to be something grand or dramatic. You don't need to save the world to live a purposeful life. Purpose can be found in simple things: doing your job with honesty, being a parent with love, helping someone without expecting anything back, creating something meaningful, learning something new, healing from your past, or becoming a better version of yourself. Purpose is simply the answer to the question, why do I wake up every morning? When this why is clear, every how becomes easier. You no longer feel like life is happening to you, you feel like you are participating in it. Your responsibilities stop feeling like burdens, because purpose transforms burdens into blessings. It gives your struggles a reason, your efforts a direction, and your life a sense of progression. Think of people who work tirelessly for a cause. Teachers pouring their heart into students, nurses caring for patients at odd hours, athletes training before sunrise, artists creating until midnight. They are not driven by applause, they are driven by purpose. And that purpose makes their busyness beautiful. It gives them the strength to continue when things get hard, the clarity to stay focused when distractions appear, and the humility to stay grounded even when success comes. When you are connected to your purpose, even small actions feel meaningful. A simple conversation becomes an opportunity to uplift someone. A small task becomes a contribution to something bigger. A single step forward becomes part of a larger journey. Purpose turns ordinary days into extraordinary blessings. But when you lose sight of your purpose, even achievements feel empty. You may succeed in the eyes of the world, but fail in the eyes of your own heart. That's why so many people chase goals that society tells them to chase, only to realize that reaching the top of the ladder means nothing if the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Purpose realigns the ladder. It shows you which mountain is yours to climb. It helps you understand that fulfillment comes not from being busy, but from being useful. Not from competing, but from contributing. Not from impressing others, but from expressing your true self. When you find your purpose, your work becomes worship. Your effort becomes devotion. Your passion becomes service. And the busyness that once exhausted you now uplifts you. It lights a fire inside you that doesn't burn you out, it warms you from within. So ask yourself, what moves me? What matters to me? What am I willing to wake up early for or stay up late for? What makes me feel alive? These answers will guide you to your purpose. And once you find that purpose, stay busy with it. Stay committed to it. Because a life busy with purpose is not just productive, it is joyful, peaceful, and deeply fulfilling. There is a quiet truth we don't often speak about, yet every one of us has experienced it. Most of our worst decisions, most of our self-destructive habits, and most of our emotional struggles didn't begin in moments of activity. They began in the empty spaces of our life. It is in the silent, unstructured hours that temptation enters the room. It is in the gaps of our discipline that our mind finds ways to pull us into patterns we later regret. Idle time, though it appears harmless, often becomes the doorway through which weakness walks into our life. Think about the times you slipped into a habit you were trying to quit. Did it happen when you were focused, purposeful, engaged? Or did it happen on those evenings when you were bored, lonely, feeling directionless, or simply passing time? Most temptations don't require strength to enter, they simply require space. When you leave your mind unoccupied, negative impulses begin to whisper. They tell you it's okay to procrastinate, okay to waste time, okay to entertain thoughts you know don't serve you. And slowly these whispers turn into suggestions, then into urges, and eventually into actions. An idle mind becomes a playground for your lower nature. It becomes easy for a person to drift into comparison, gossip, addiction, self-doubt, unhealthy relationships, or emotional spirals, not because they are bad people, but because in the absence of meaningful engagement, the mind looks for stimulation wherever it can find it. And the mind, when left on autopilot, rarely chooses what is good for you, it chooses what is easy for you. But look at a person who stays engaged in uplifting activity. Someone who is learning, serving, working, creating, practicing, improving. Their engagement becomes their protection. Their purpose becomes their armor. Their discipline becomes their shield. When they are busy building something in their life, they naturally have less space to break something in their life. This is the beautiful paradox. The more meaningfully busy you are, the fewer battles you need to fight. You don't have to resist temptation if you never create space for it. You don't have to run from distractions if you keep your focus strong. You don't have to drown in negativity when your energy is being used for something constructive. Engagement is not just progress, it is protection. Think of a river. When the water is flowing, it remains fresh, alive, full of movement. But when water becomes stagnant, mosquitoes breed. Stagnant water becomes polluted, not because someone poisoned it, but because it stopped moving. In the same way, a stagnant life invites negativity, not because you chose it, but because you stopped moving forward. When your days lose direction, your mind fills that void with whatever it finds first, and it rarely finds something uplifting. This is why so many spiritual paths emphasize activity, not frantic busyness, but conscious engagement. Prayer, service, study, physical work, meditation, discipline, all are forms of keeping the mind engaged in something higher, so that it does not fall into something lower. When you fill your hours with actions that uplift you, you leave no room for actions that degrade you. A person who is deeply engaged in meaningful work rarely has the time or mental space to indulge in negativity. They don't have time to gossip because they're busy growing. They don't have time to complain because they're building something. They don't have time to engage in meaningless drama because they're focused on meaningful progress. Their engagement naturally elevates them. The truth is, temptation is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of emptiness. Fill the emptiness and the temptation loses its power. This is why we often feel strongest when our schedule is full of purpose, and weakest when we have nothing meaningful to do. God designed us to build, to create, to serve, to move, to grow. When we step into that design, we step into our strength. When we ignore it, we fall into our vulnerability. And this doesn't mean overworking or burning out. It means staying engaged in things that nourish you. Your goals, your relationships, your faith, your health, your contribution. When your time is filled with the right things, it becomes difficult for the wrong things to take root. So choose your activities intentionally. Fill your days with learning, creativity, discipline, and service. Engage your mind in what strengthens you, so that your mind does not wander into what weakens you. Because a life filled with meaningful engagement becomes a life protected from unnecessary suffering, and every step you take in purposeful action becomes a step away from the temptations that once controlled you. If you stay busy with what builds you, you'll never have time for what breaks you. There is something profoundly beautiful that happens when a person shifts their focus from "how much can I achieve" to "how much can I contribute." That simple shift transforms busyness into blessings. It turns effort into joy. It turns exhaustion into fulfillment. Because service has the power to elevate any action, no matter how small, into something sacred. When you are busy only for yourself, life feels heavy. But when you are busy for others, life feels meaningful. Most people today are tired not because they are doing too much, but because too much of what they do feels empty. They chase goals that don't satisfy their soul. They work for recognition that doesn't last, and they exhaust themselves trying to impress a world that forgets quickly. But the moment you begin to serve someone, truly serve, with humility and love, your energy changes. Your life begins to feel lighter. Your heart begins to feel fuller. Because service connects you to something larger than yourself. I have seen people who were deeply lonely, deeply depressed, and deeply lost suddenly find purpose again simply by helping someone else. A woman who had lost her husband found healing by mentoring young widows. A young man struggling with addiction found strength by working at a rehab center. A businessman drowning in stress rediscovered meaning by supporting underprivileged students. They didn't solve their problems by thinking more. They solved them by serving more. Service heals the heart in ways that logic never can. When you help someone in pain, your own pain softens. When you lift someone up, your own burdens feel lighter. When you bring a smile to someone else's face, it brings warmth to your own. We are designed this way, not to live isolated but connected, not to live only for ourselves but to live for each other. Service is not just an act, it is medicine for the soul. Think about the days when you did something for someone without expecting anything in return. Maybe you helped a friend, comforted a stranger, guided a child, or simply listened to someone who needed to speak. Remember how you felt afterward? You didn't feel drained, you felt enriched. You didn't feel empty, you felt grateful. That is the power of service. It multiplies joy. It deepens meaning. It adds value not just to someone else's life but also to yours. Even the smallest act of service carries divine energy. A cup of water given with compassion, a message sent with kindness, a moment spent in understanding, a meal shared with someone hungry. These are not ordinary actions. They are expressions of God's love flowing through you. And when you allow yourself to become an instrument of service, your life becomes aligned with a higher purpose. You become a channel for goodness, healing, and hope. Busyness for ego drains you. Busyness for service elevates you. There is a big difference between being busy building your own comfort and being busy lifting someone else's life. One feels like pressure, the other feels like privilege. When your busyness is rooted in service, even challenges feel meaningful. You begin to see your work not as a burden but as a blessing. You begin to see your time not as an obligation but as an opportunity. And you begin to see your life not as a race but as a contribution. Service also teaches humility. It reminds us that no matter how successful we become, we are still human beings dependent on the kindness, grace, and support of others. It protects us from the illusion that we are self-sufficient. It grounds us in gratitude. When you serve, you realize that you are not above anyone. You are alongside everyone. And that realization softens your heart. In a world obsessed with competition, Service reminds us of compassion. In a world driven by speed, service brings us back to sincerity. In a world filled with noise, service helps us hear the silent struggles of others. And once you start noticing those struggles, your heart naturally wants to help. That desire is not weakness, it is wisdom. And here is the great truth. You don't need to do something extraordinary to serve. You just need to care. You just need to be willing. Service is not about the size of your action, but the sincerity behind it. A simple act done with love carries more power than a big gesture done for attention. When you stay busy with service, you don't just fill your day, you fill your life. You create waves of kindness that touch people you may never even meet. You turn ordinary moments into spiritual moments. You transform the energy around you. And God smiles upon you because service is the language of the divine. So stay busy in service. Stay busy creating kindness. Stay busy lifting others. Because when your life becomes a blessing to someone else, God makes your life a blessing to you. There comes a moment in everyone's life when they look around and wonder why things feel stuck, why they feel the same year after year, why happiness seems distant, and why life seems to move forward for others but not for them. And in those moments, it is easy to blame circumstances, timing, people, or even fate. But the truth is much simpler, much gentler, and much more empowering. Growth happens when you stretch, not when you sit still. Think of a muscle. If you never stretch it, never challenge it, never ask more from it, it remains the same. But the moment you begin to push it, even slightly, it begins to transform. It becomes stronger, more flexible, more resilient. The same principle applies to your mind, your heart, your abilities, your character. You grow when you choose discomfort over comfort, effort over ease, courage over fear. You grow when you allow yourself to be stretched. Many people associate stretching with pain, but stretching is not suffering, it is strengthening. It may feel uncomfortable at first, yes, but discomfort is not the enemy, it is the doorway. Every meaningful breakthrough in life comes from stepping just a little outside your comfort zone. Every new skill, every new opportunity, every new level of confidence comes from taking one more step than you feel ready for. Look back at your life for a moment. The lessons that shaped you the most did not come from the easy chapters. They came from the tests, the uncertainties, the responsibilities, the transitions. You grew because life stretched you, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, but always for your evolution. And each time you stretched, you discovered strength you didn't know you had. But imagine if you became willing to stretch yourself intentionally, not just when life forces you to. Imagine if you learned something new on purpose, pushed yourself a little more on purpose, practiced discipline on purpose, pursued growth on purpose. Your life would begin to change not by accident but by design. Growth is not a sudden event, it is a daily decision. It is found in small, consistent choices. Reading instead of scrolling, praying instead of panicking, working instead of worrying, exercising instead of excusing, creating instead of complaining. These choices may feel small, but they stretch you in ways that transform your life over time. And growth is rarely loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly, often without applause. When a seed grows beneath the soil, no one claps for it, but it grows anyway. When a tree strengthens its roots underground, no one notices, but it strengthens anyway. That is how your growth works too. Invisible today but impactful tomorrow. One of the most common reasons people feel unhappy is because they stop progressing. Human beings are not created to be stagnant. We are created to evolve, to improve, to deepen, to expand. When your life becomes motionless, your spirit becomes restless. But the moment you stretch even a little, your soul breathes again. You feel alive again. You feel hopeful again. Sometimes stretching means learning something new. Sometimes it means letting go of something old. Sometimes it means taking a risk. Sometimes it means staying patient. Sometimes it means being vulnerable. Sometimes it means trying again. Every form of stretching requires courage, but every form of stretching rewards you with growth. And yes, stretching may sometimes feel uncomfortable, but comfort, when overused, becomes a prison. Growth may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort becomes your teacher. Comfort keeps you where you are, discomfort carries you to where you are meant to be. Think of a butterfly inside its cocoon. If it never pushes against the cocoon, it never develops wings strong enough to fly. The struggle is not the obstacle, it is the preparation. The stretching is not the punishment, it is the blessing. In the same way, the challenges you face are not sent to break you, they are sent to build you. They are strengthening the very qualities you will need for the next chapter of your life. Every person you admire today, leaders, creators, thinkers, athletes, spiritual guides, did not become who they are by sitting still. They stretched, they took steps that scared them, they embraced hard work, they pushed their limits, they grew through discipline, patience, persistence, and practice. And you can too. So don't be afraid of stretching. Don't be afraid of trying something new. Don't be afraid of taking that first step, even if it feels small. Growth begins the moment you decide that staying the same is no longer acceptable. Your future self is begging you to stretch today so it can shine tomorrow. A life in motion becomes a life in progress. And progress, no matter how slow, is one of the deepest sources of happiness. When you stretch, you evolve. When you evolve, you feel alive. And when you feel alive, you rediscover the joy that has always been waiting inside you. One of the greatest misunderstandings in life is believing that routine makes life boring. But the truth is, the right routine doesn't restrict you, it releases you. It doesn't imprison you, it stabilizes you. It doesn't drain you, it grounds you. Routine is not repetition, routine is rhythm. Just as your heartbeat keeps a steady pace, just as the sunrise follows a predictable pattern, just as the tides of the ocean rise and fall in a perfect cycle, your life too finds peace when it settles into a meaningful rhythm. Most people today confuse chaos with freedom. They think freedom means doing whatever they want, whenever they want, without discipline or structure. But real freedom is not the absence of discipline, it is the result of discipline. When your life lacks routine, your mind becomes restless. You feel scattered, overwhelmed, unsure of where to begin or how to end your day. But when your life has a rhythm, you feel anchored, you feel calm, you feel in control of yourself. Even if you cannot control the world around you, a good routine does not make life monotonous, it makes life manageable. It gives your mind clarity, your heart peace, and your actions consistency. Think about how much mental energy is wasted when every day begins with confusion. What should I do first? What should I do next? What is important? What can wait? The mind becomes chaotic because it has no map. But when you have a routine, a morning ritual, a schedule of priorities, a rhythm of habits, your mind rests. It knows where to go. It knows what comes next. Routine is not a cage, it is a compass. Imagine a musician playing a complex song. Behind the beauty of the melody lies hours of disciplined practice, structured routines, and repeated scales. The routine is not visible in the performance, but without it, the beauty would not exist. In the same way, the beauty you desire in life, peace, progress, purpose, comes from the unseen consistency of your routines. Every successful person you admire has one thing in common: discipline. They may come from different backgrounds, follow different paths, or have different talents, but every single one of them has built a routine that supports their growth. A writer writes daily, an athlete trains daily, a spiritual seeker meditates daily, a student studies daily, a leader reflects daily. The greatness lies not in what they do occasionally, but in what they do consistently. You don't need a complex routine, you just need a meaningful one. Wake up with gratitude, spend a few minutes in prayer or reflection, move your body, feed your mind good knowledge, set clear intentions, work on your goals, serve someone, wind down with calmness. These simple rhythms, repeated daily, can transform your life in ways you cannot imagine. Routine also protects your mental and emotional health. When life throws challenges at you, and it will, You won't collapse as easily because your habits will hold you together. Discipline becomes your backbone when everything else feels weak. Your routine becomes your refuge when chaos enters your door. It gives you something steady to stand on when the world around you feels unstable. In today's world of constant distraction, routine also protects your focus. Every notification, every message, every random thought pulls your attention away. But when your day has structure, distractions lose their power. You train your mind to stay aligned, to return to what matters, to prioritize what moves you forward. Most people underestimate the power of small habits done consistently. A little reading each day compounds into wisdom. A little exercise each day compounds into strength. A little prayer each day compounds into peace. A little self-control each day compounds into character. A little consistency each day compounds into confidence. Over time, these small steps shape your entire life. Without routine, life feels like fragments. With routine, life feels like flow. Even spiritually, routine matters. Daily prayer deepens faith. Daily gratitude cultivates joy. Daily reflection sharpens awareness. Daily kindness strengthens compassion. These are not mechanical activities, they are daily alignments. They tune your heart to love, your mind to clarity, and your spirit to humility. And here is the beautiful part. Routine does not make your life predictable, it makes your energy available. When your daily tasks are organized, your mind becomes free. Free to be creative, free to be present, free to enjoy the moment. Routine eliminates unnecessary decisions so you can focus on meaningful actions. A disciplined life is not a boring life. It is a balanced life, a strong life, a clear life, a peaceful life. So don't run away from routine. Build one that supports your growth, strengthens your spirit, and aligns your mind. Let your life move with a rhythm that nourishes you. Because when your days flow in harmony, your heart begins to experience happiness in its purest form, in the pursuit of staying busy, staying productive, and staying purposeful. There is one truth we must never forget. Even the most meaningful journey needs moments of stillness. Even the strongest person needs pauses. Even the brightest flame needs time to refuel. A busy life, to remain blessed, must also have sacred pauses. These pauses are not interruptions, they are revelations. They don't slow us down, they strengthen us. They don't decrease our productivity, they deepen our purpose. Think of music for a moment. What makes a melody beautiful is not only the notes that are played, but also the silence between them. Without those pauses, music would become noise. Life works in the same rhythm. Without rest, reflection, and silence, our busyness becomes chaos. We may keep moving, but the movement loses meaning. Our energy becomes shallow. Our purpose becomes blurred. Our spirit becomes tired. In today's world, people often glorify constant activity. They think rest is laziness, silence is emptiness, and stillness is weakness. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Rest is wisdom, silence is strength, stillness is nourishment. Your mind, your body, and your soul require pauses to realign, to recenter, to reconnect. Without these sacred pauses, even the best intentions lose direction. Take nature as your teacher. Trees stand tall because they rest through seasons. The ocean waves rise and fall in rhythm. The sun sets daily, giving the world a moment of peace before rising again. Nothing in nature moves non-stop. Only human beings try to run endlessly without pausing, and we wonder why we feel overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected. Life was never meant to be lived in one continuous breath. We need inhalation and exhalation. We need work and rest. We need motion and stillness. When you take a sacred pause, you give your soul a chance to speak. You hear what your heart has been trying to tell you. You notice the emotions you've been suppressing. You see the lessons hidden beneath your busyness. You reconnect with your purpose. You realign with your values. You allow God to guide you in ways that are impossible to hear when your life is too loud. Many people confuse rest with escape. They think scrolling endlessly on a phone or binge-watching shows is rest. But those activities do not refill you. they distract you. True rest is intentional, it is mindful, it is restorative, it nourishes you instead of numbing you. It can be a prayer, a silent walk, a moment of gratitude, deep breathing, reading something uplifting, sitting under the sky, or simply being present with your own thoughts. These moments don't take you away from your life, they bring you back to it. A sacred pause is where clarity is born. Some of the most important decisions in life are not made in action, but in reflection. When you slow down, wisdom catches up. When you quiet your mind, direction becomes clearer. When you step back, perspective becomes sharper. And when you rest, your strength returns with greater intensity. Even spiritually, pauses are essential. In prayer, the silence after the words is often more powerful than the words themselves. In meditation, the stillness between breaths holds deep meaning. These pauses allow us to connect with the divine, to feel guided, to sense that we are not moving alone. When you pause, you remind yourself that your strength does not come only from your effort, it comes also from grace. A busy life without pauses becomes survival. A busy life with sacred pauses becomes fulfillment. It is in the pause that you heal. It is in the pause that you learn. It is in the pause that you grow. It is in the pause that you remember who you are. And the more you embrace these moments of stillness, the more powerful your motion becomes afterward. Your actions become intentional. Your energy becomes pure. Your purpose becomes clearer. Your happiness becomes deeper. Some people feel guilty when they rest. They feel like they're wasting time. But understand this, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot serve from a drained heart. You cannot grow with an exhausted mind. Stay busy with what matters. Stay grounded in what's true. Stay grateful for what you have. And stay connected to the one who never leaves your side. Because when your life becomes a gift to others, God makes your life a miracle for you. Move forward with faith, act with purpose, and let your busyness become a blessing to you, to others, and to the world.